Fern! Sweet potato! Yeah! 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, move!
Oh, yeah, that's that mahi, boy. That's that mahi.
Kia ora koutou whānau and welcome to NZR Around the Grounds from New Zealand Rugby, bringing you close to our national game. This week is Mental Health Awareness Week, and on the podcast today, we are going to discuss mental health and rugby with a couple of guests who are passionate about the topic and have some skills and expertise to help us better understand and navigate some of the challenges we may face. Welcome to the studio, Black Fern and Balance is Better Ambassador Maya Roos and New Zealand Rugby Clinical Psychologist Advisor Dom Vettise. Welcome, team.
Hello.
Maya, how you going, team? Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. Traffic, as usual, is niggly and bad, but we're pushing through down here in the bunker. Maya, I want to ask you something first. It has been a whirlwind last 10 months. If we're talking, home Rugby World Cup, which you got the W in, awesome. Into Super Rugby Opeki. Pacific 4 Series, being named our youngest ever Black Ferns captain. Playing in the Whare Cup at the moment. WXV1 against the best sides in the world is just around the corner. That's a heck of a rap sheet. And are you practicing what you preach as a Balance is Better ambassador?
I hope so. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yep.
It's been a lot of fun. There's been a lot of growth in the last 10 months for myself. And so, yeah, I guess balancing has been a big challenge and something that has been helping me get through the last 10 months. I have a really good support system around me and a lot of goals that I want to reach, so just ticking along. It's been good, been fun.
I want to ask you, the World Cup just seems like yesterday. I was at a number of the games. It was such an awesome experience. I think everyone's got their own, Women's World Cup story. Have you taken time to reflect and sort of look back on it, or has it just been on to the next thing? Do you give yourself a chance sometimes to realise what a fantastic journey you're on?
That's a really good question. It kind of has just been go since it happened.
Massively.
Yeah, and I don't know if it ever really settled in that we were world champs and that we are world champs right now. It's such an honour, such a privilege as well to be able to win a World Cup at home and be able to share it with all of our family and friends here at home. And yeah. Sorry, I don't know.
No, busy lady. One thing I want to ask you as well is being named Black Ferns captain, youngest ever, taking over from Dr. Whare, one of the absolute greats of the female game. What was the emotions? What was the reaction? Who did you talk to first? Again, is that another thing that's truly sunk in while you're tearing into Whare Cup and getting ready for the next international schedule?
Yeah, I was actually in complete shock when I found out. They didn't give me any warning. They just said it during that team naming. And so I was in shock. I was a bit angry. I was like, no, I'm not meant to be doing this right now. I'm only 21 when it happened. I'm 22 now.
I can really notice the maturity.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a real honour, real privilege to be able to have such a title to be trusted with. The Black Ferns is the most prestigious women's rugby team in the world, and so to be trusted with that was really daunting, quite scary actually. Yeah. And I don't know if I did it justice, but if one day I get named with that opportunity again, I hope to do it proud and do the name proud. Yeah.
You absolutely did do it justice, and there's a reason you got the job is because of what you've done beforehand. So well done, congratulations. I have no doubt you'll get another crack at it. Dom, firstly, welcome. Thanks for coming in, mate. And tell us a little bit about the mahi you do at New Zealand Rugby. I know perhaps clinical psychologist, mental health and sport is in some ways to the general public something that's emerging in terms of being associated with sport teams. But tell us a little bit about your role and where you come into play, mate.
Yeah, so they've got me as the Clin Psych advisor. So pretty much my job is to help provide advice or consultation on anything mental health related. It could be to do with, helping out with players or teams, might be helping out with the crisis that's going on, which might come through PDMs or coaches or players themselves, set up external support if that's what they need. And then otherwise we've got probably 3 major projects that we're working on. So one of them's a mental health curriculum. So it's helping build topics and modules for players, coaches and support staff that they can dive into from when they enter the academy right through to when they end up retiring. So that's probably one of the projects. The other one's working with our external preferred providers, setting them up to get the right people in so that players can access staff as well, and their families can access good external support who understand the context of sport a little bit as well. Becomes really important. And then the other one, project that we work on at the moment, is bringing in some mental health screening into rugby to better understand, not diagnose, but to better understand where people are at with their mental health journey, and then what sort of support may they need as they kind of continue through.
Mate, awesome. What important mahi that is. And it's, like you say, probably getting our mental health literacy in terms of our general population is an important thing to do, isn't it? Because it's something we talk about a lot. We see it in the media. We see it spoken about in different forums. But actually just getting our head around what it is, what's good, what's bad is a job to do, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, and if we can improve our mental health literacy as players, coaches within their environments, then we're going to be in a better space to be able to look after each other, which I think is really important, rather than just simply looking after ourselves, but looking after each other as a collective.
Mate, I love that. I love framing it in a way that it's just looking out for yourself and looking out for your mates, isn't it? That's a great way to look at it. Mai, I want to ask you a little bit about sport growing up. I've no doubt you're one of those quite frustrating people who's quite good at lots of things. That would, those people really annoy me because I can't be good at one thing, but I'm sure you're good at a number of things. What did it look like growing up for you? Sport, friends, family, what was your upbringing?
I was born in the States. And
Don't be humble.
I was born in the States, came over here when I was 7. In the States, played a lot of basketball, volleyball as a little kid, just for fun.
Yeah.
That kind of transferred as we came over here. I used sports as a way to make friends and just have fun after school. My family really encouraged it, and so I was in a space where I could be able to play sports. My schools provided a lot of sports that we could play for free. Courses where people would come in, teach us AFL, teach us how to play soccer, teach us how to play netball, volleyball, basketball. And so, I've kind of been all over the place. I never saw a pathway to sport as a professional thing as a girl when I was little. And so, I just played sports for fun. I really loved study. I love sciences, English, and just spending time with my family. So I was kind of all over the place.
I love it. And what got you into rugby? Was that something you got into early on? Was it something you saw later on? What was your journey into playing rugby and now being, a professional rugby player? So
in primary and intermediate, teachers just introduced all kind of different sports, and then in year 8, one of the teachers came down and was like, "Who wants to play rugby for the local club?" And so me and a couple of my friends were like, "Oh yeah, we're keen." And we didn't actually know it was an all-boys team. And so there was 3 of us girls, and we just jumped in. And I guess my love for the game really sprouted there. I just thought it was really cool and fun. And so then I was looking for a college to go to. And the 2 colleges that my siblings went to, none of them offered girls rugby. And so I knew that Tamaki College offered women's rugby.
Awesome.
And there was a Black Ferns legend who was the coach there. And so
who was that?
Doris Tauwhatiao.
Oh, yeah.
And I love Doris. She is one of my big inspirations. And so her love for rugby when she coached us from year 9 to year 13 really grew my love for the game even more. And her love for our community and her ability to share her knowledge of the game and how she plays and, just provide opportunities for us to play was really cool and something that I aspire to be like one day too.
Awesome, I love it. And let's talk a little bit about mental health within those environments. Is that something you consciously think about, or is it more that, like you say, by having balance, by ensuring, that you're, still having fun at all times? What does mental health look like for you inside rugby?
I guess it's a really good place to get connection, build really good friendships to support me if I am struggling. Most of my best friends I've ever made are through rugby, and especially today, being in an environment that's fully rugby, having friends to be able to talk to about stuff outside of rugby, to be able to keep my mind ticking in other places has been really helpful.
Brilliant, I love it. And Dom, from your perspective, from a clinical perspective, in terms of mental health in rugby, I always look at it on the really positive side of things. I think, sport and rugby specifically today is perhaps one of the best mental health tools that there is. Firstly, I've heard statistics often said around being physically active can be, 5 times more effective than a prescribed pill for mental health. Sleep can have similar sorts of effects. So I suppose if we look at it on the really positive side, sport and rugby can be a really positive aspect to mental health, can't it?
Absolutely, and I think Maya touched on it. It's the connection with people.
Yeah,
it's really important. Like, I know this sounds quite cheesy, but there's a real difference between mental illness and mental wellness, and it's in the spelling. So illness is spelt with an I, so isolated by yourself, and wellness is spelt with a we, which is about the collective. So I love that, and I think that's what's really important within sport is the connection with people. It's the whanaungatanga. It's the deep understanding of who each of us are and what we bring and what we offer. And that's what I probably think is around mental health within sport and within rugby.
No, I love that. That's awesome. Let's flick to a little bit more of a high performance element. Like, especially for you now, like, which is happening quickly and has happened reasonably fast. Like, what does a typical week look like for you? Like, now that you're a professional athlete, you're involved in multiple teams, multiple competitions. Like, just how busy are you?
Yeah, it's pretty full on. Mondays is we usually have like a morning session on the field and then a bit of gym. Then we get the afternoon off, so that's really nice. Can spend time with my family, play with my nephew, and just chill or like start analysing for the week ahead. So that's when I usually preview the team that we're going to verse on the weekend,
yeah.
Monday afternoon. Tuesday, wake up, field session again, another gym, and then usually we'll have a PD kind of session, so we'll either go through mental skills, nutrition, or anything else in that kind of array. And then we'll go home, and we're in storm season right now, and so at like 5:45 we're down back at the field to train with all the other girls who have full-time jobs and sacrifice their nights for rugby. Wednesday, blessed day off, but it's not really a day off because you got
in here today.
Yep, got to do recovery. Just tick off any things that my body needs, rest, connect, recover. Spend time with my family and friends, try to fit that in, and then do any other kind of analysis or previews, reviews, looking at my goals for the week. That's like my Wednesday.
Yeah.
Thursday, another field session, another gym session, and then another nighttime session again with all the girls in the storm.
Wow.
Friday, it's more of a low-key day, so we just have like a quick power gym, and then afternoon off to do whatever we like. And so I usually take that time to go over my last few notes about the game that will be the next day, and then rest, take my mind off it, do whatever makes me feel good. If that's spending time with my friends, I don't know, doing like an eyelash session.
Sure.
Yep. And then Saturday's game day, Sunday recovery, and then do it all again.
Oh, that's awesome. And it sounds, like the stuff that's non-training is just as important as the stuff that is training. The times that when you say catch up with friends, family, whatever it may be, sounds like you prioritise that as much as the training itself. Is that right?
Yeah, I think connection and service is really important. I think those kind of things impact the way I am and how I will play on the weekend. If I'm feeling good and if my heart feels good, then I know that I'll be able to just go on the field and play free and play happy with nothing on my mind. Yeah.
That's awesome, Dom. Like, just how important is it to prioritise mental health within a high-performance environment? Because, I mean, Maya's talking about the good stuff here, but also, it can be high pressure. Sometimes you're on the tally, sometimes there's 40,000 people in the stands, sometimes you may or may not get selected. Why do we need to have at least a balanced view on mental health within a high-performance environment?
Yeah, I think, what people like Maya are trying to do and what are they trying to achieve is literally the top 0.5% of the rest of the population. And so really in some ways, you're trying to help people who are at that pointy end still manage to function all the time. And the reality is that stress and pressure is all around, high performer all the time. So there has to be some acceptance to the point that is going to be there. So being able to maintain and look after your mental health as a foundation thing, that's what I really loved you know, in any kind of sports environment, the foundation of care and connection before anything else, because that allows people to feel more secure in who they are, understand their identity, what goes on there, and then allows them to, as Mai was saying, start to play a little bit more free. And those tools and some of those skills that we use on a daily basis in our daily training environments become really important, and they can be emphasised and used on the field as well to be able to perform at a really high level.
Is there, like, you've been involved in all sorts of environments and still are, you were telling me how many different sporting environments you're involved in beforehand. Is there a significant difference between a male and female sporting environment, or actually there's a lot of commonalities throughout all those programs?
There's a lot of commonalities.
Yeah.
I don't want to get myself into trouble here, but I often find a lot of the wahine a lot more open-minded to mental health strategies and the things that they're going to put into place. Often I used to say to some of the 7 skills, don't be so open-minded that your brain falls out either. Be a little bit critical around even the stuff that I'm talking to you about from time to time.
Right, and maybe push back if they think that's not something that would work for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's the same with any kind of client or group that I'm working with. So that becomes extremely important. I think the other thing that I noticed was probably a really either something that's really helpful but can be unhelpful is relationships as well become really important. And I'd say there's a big emphasis on relationships and connection, both intimate, external, whānau, relationship back to iwi. That becomes extremely important. I probably notice that a lot more in the girls more so than the men. That's not to say that's very stereotypical, but that's probably a couple of things that I've probably noticed a little bit more.
Mai, you sort of almost naturally talked about how you create a bit of space and a bit of balance in your week, which is a really, really busy week. Like, is that being determined by yourself? Is that being determined by people like Dom? Like, who's helping put those things into place? Because you talk about it so naturally and it flows so nicely, but I think the point Dom's making is perhaps 15, 10, 20 years ago, it didn't come as natural, and we didn't, perhaps talk about being able to create space and have good connection within a high-performance environment. It was probably very goal-orientated, like, is it having people like Dom involved, or is that something you've been able to naturally do yourself?
I think it's something I've always naturally done, but in the last couple of years in the Black Friends environment, it's been really pushed on the girls to have, like, all 4 walls of our hauora be balanced. We present our whares to each other, and so we present, like, where we're from, what we think our superpowers are, who our family is, who we love to connect with. We talk about any challenges that we have in our life, if that's what we want to talk about. We talk about where we place our feet, who I guess inspired us as a kid, and so we really get to connect with each other on a deeper level, and we base our goals around our whare, and I guess having that deep level connection and that push down from our coaches, or encouraged on us to share that from our coaches, has been really cool. And I think I've seen a lot of growth in our culture through that as Black Friends. Yeah.
I love it. What's your superpower, Mai?
My superpower? I think one of my superpowers is my openness to learn, my curiosity, and just the fact that I think I can always be better.
I love it. I want to ask you, as an athlete, as a person, whatever it may be, have you had some challenges along the way? What are those, and maybe how have you dealt with them, so perhaps we can share those with the wider community and they might be able to put them into place? Yeah,
I think I'm still trying to learn about my own mental health and I guess how to support myself and the health of my own mind. One of the challenges I had was in high school. One of my really good mates in our rugby team, she committed suicide. And so,
Terrible.
It was really tough on me and my teammates and our coaches. And so, I guess working through that, I was really young. I was in year 11 when it happened.
Wow.
And so, she's always been, like, why I play, because she wanted to be a Black friend. And so, me and my friends, we always take time to think about her. It's her birthday soon, so we're going to be celebrating that next week.
Oh, wow.
And, I don't know. Sorry.
No, not at all. No, of course, thank you for sharing that. And it's awesome that you remember the good stuff, use it as motivation, as a way to try and go out there and represent her, which is fantastic. Dom, I want to ask a little bit, Mai's touched on an experience there. We talked a little bit about, how high pressure it can be. Selection, maybe. We all want to be out on the field, putting on the black jersey, playing in big games, but sometimes that's not the case. Particularly as our teams are getting so strong, it's really competitive for positions. What are some of the things you see most within the high performance environment that need to be considered? The tools that we need to put in place, sort of some of the elements that some of the players have to contend with.
I think some places where I've seen it done quite successfully, and as you're being coached by Bunce at the moment, and I've been very fortunate to work with him and Corey within Sevens. One of the things I really noticed, like I said before, is the underlying foundation of care and connection becomes important. I think teams within the high performance environment, they really focus on identity, both as a collective but also as individuals, becomes important. Then sitting on top of that, what are kind of the skills or the strategies you're going to use to help be the person that you understand yourself to be? And then within high performance especially, it's kind of how you start to add in, I guess, challenges or adversity within the training sessions that allow you to try and stay the person that you understand yourself to be, and constantly testing, reflecting on that. When it comes to selections, again, it's about being open and honest and transparent and understanding the people that you're working with and how they're going to receive the feedback in the best way possible, because that is something that can actually add risk to mental ill health, is around those selection times, because that is something that people have been waiting for their entire lives.
Yeah.
So to do that in a caring, empathetic, understanding way and allow a bit of follow-up as well becomes really important, and a bit of direction as to what could you do to grow or improve later on. So just really good communication, empathetic communication becomes extremely important for a lot of leaders, and that includes leaders within the group and leaders within the coaching staff as well.
Because stress is a part of life, isn't it? In fact, in some ways, a little bit of stress is okay. Like if we have a little bit of stress, we put some things in place to overcome that stress. The next time that situation comes around, perhaps it's not a situation anymore. Is there anything you do, Maya, to deal with selection issues, with pressure of an upcoming game? Are these things that you think about during the week when perhaps you're a little bit anxious around, whether you're going to be named to start or perhaps a big crowd, a big match? Are there some tips and tricks that you use around those situations?
Yeah, I'm pretty handies. I really when I want something, I really want it, and so obviously everyone's fighting for a spot in the black jersey, and so there have been times where I've missed out or where I haven't started, and I do cry.
Yeah.
I'm such a sucky baba, but I set a time for me to cry, and so I let myself have that time, and then after that, I just know I'm on to the next job, and that next job is helping the other girls in my position be the best that they can be.
Yeah.
Because if they're the best, then I can support them to be even better, and then our team's the best as a collective.
Yeah.
And so, I guess just going on to
and
the
that's
next
a release,
job.
Like that opportunity to cry is that release, and then you can reset and go on with whatever the next job is.
Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. I got to do a bit more of that. Got a lot of bottling going up. Dom, is those sorts of situations, Maya talked about what she does there. Is that something you see a bit? And is it, I'm sure everyone does it differently, but is there, again, some, within a high performance environment, has there been some tools that you've helped people with to manage through those situations?
Yeah, Maya's just pretty much named it. The ability to let go of, bad news or unhelpful news is really important, rather than just ignoring it and bottling it up. It's kind of like if I said to you, think of whatever you want, but don't think of a pink elephant.
Yeah, totally. Pink elephant, bang, it's in there.
Yeah, it's always just going to keep coming back. It's the same thing as you go to your fridge and you open it up and there's a rotten piece of food in there.
Yeah.
And what do most of us do? We shut the door again, and then it gets worse and worse. So you got to eat. So you open it back up again. It stinks even more. It starts going through the house. And you shut the door again. It's not until you take it out that you can actually deal with it. It's the same with our thoughts and our emotions. If we keep on pushing and shutting the door, and we don't allow ourselves that time to grieve or to cry or to get upset, feel what you feel, then it's just going to come back, and it'll come back at the most unexpected and annoying times, normally when you're out in the field or something like that. So the ability to be able to let it out, do what you need to do with it, could be through journaling, could be through music, it could be simply crying with a friend, and having that process and learning what that process looks like for you, and then kind of go, right, what's important now, which could be a values-related kind of action. So if courage, for example, is important to you, what does courage look like in this moment? It might be to connect and do the best for the rest of the team, and then you start to reset. Yep, so you've nailed it.
We've talked about ourselves or our teammates or you as players and individuals and in your role. What about our teammates? How do we notice if they may be struggling in any way, shape or form with any of the things that we've discussed? And also, if you do notice something, what might you do to support them? Is there any examples of that, Maya?
Yeah. For me, I train with a lot of the girls a lot, and so if there's something a little bit off at training, like if someone's not acting like how they usually do, I'll talk to them after training, see if everything's all good. And even if they don't want to say it, at least they know that someone's approaching them, and they have the opportunity to talk if they want to. So yeah, that's what I'd do.
I love it. And what are maybe some of the signs of, some people, you sound super connected to your teammates and the people that you spend a lot of time with, so you're able to see those changes in behaviour perhaps and act on it, which it sounds like you do, which is fantastic. What does, maybe some of the signs within our team look like what it might look like for someone who might be struggling a little bit, so that we can maybe try and be a little bit more aware in our own environments?
Yeah, I think it still really differs for each person, and that's why understanding people becomes extremely important. So it's the shift away from a typical behaviour for that particular person. It could be that they're not the first out on the training field. It's that they're not spending the extra time out there. You can sometimes pick it up on like wellness questionnaires and things like that. It might be that they're a little bit more snappy or they're a little bit more withdrawn. So it's understanding where do they start to differentiate from their normal behaviour, I would say, are some of the most important things. I would also say it's really important to realise that being upset and being stressed and being anxious is normal and it's okay. And one of the things, like if a coach or someone's come to me and say, oh, this person's really upset, Dom, can you go and talk to them? It's like, well, just give them a moment, because if we jump in too quickly, it also sends a signal that they can't cope. And I think humans are extremely resilient, right? And so the ability for them to be able to work it out on their own, yes, it's important to check in on them, especially for a teammate, but probably for someone like me who's maybe a bit more on the professional side of it, it's okay to let the teammate start to sort that. Where you start to notice it when it becomes a pattern and it's happening for a couple of weeks over a longer period of time, or they're doing something particularly dangerous, that's probably when you want to step in a little bit more. But I still think that humans are extremely resilient, and they can work it out for themselves or with a teammate or with a friend. And they will do that. So I think sometimes it's okay to just let them sit and learn to manage some of that emotion as well, becomes really important.
Particularly if that connection, because you talk a lot about it, Maya, and if you know what's going on in people's lives, you might know why they're acting a certain way, like if they've had a child, if they're in a new relationship, if they're maybe not in a new, a relationship breakout with fun. There's the better you know people, I suppose, the better you can understand their behaviour and therefore make the right decisions around what you might do with them. I love that. Now, guys, Mental Health Awareness Week. 5 themes: be active, connect, give, keep learning, take notice. And we've covered a number of those today, actually, in our discussion. What ones will you be working on and why? Maybe, Dom, I'll go to you first, mate. Is there anything that you integrate into your life regularly,
Regularly. Well, I think regularly I have what my supervisor, so all psychs have to be supervised. We talk about our basics, 3 basics.
Yeah.
So it's normally play with my kids.
Yes.
Try and do some sort of exercise.
Yes.
And the other one's cook, for me, is really important.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love cooking.
Okay.
Absolutely love it.
What's your go-to? If I was coming around for dinner, me and Maya were coming around for dinner on Sunday night, what would be your go-to?
We'll probably do a pork roast.
Okay.
This time of year.
Sure.
Yeah, otherwise we'll be out at the barbie.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then sometimes if I've got a little bit more time on my hands, we'll sit down, we'll make some pasta right from scratch as well. So I've got Italian heritage, so we'll be doing that.
Wow, that's sort of setting a bit of a high bar, isn't it, Maya? What about you, Maya? Any of those things that you will be focusing on or that you do regularly? And I don't know, what would you cook for dinner?
I think take notice is one that's standing out to me.
Yeah.
Just being real present with those who are around me. Noticing the small stuff, seeing if everyone's all good. If they're not, using some of the strategies that we just talked about. And what would I cook for dinner?
Yeah, what would you cook for dinner? I'm interested to know. because nutrition, I'm not sure if you're aware, you're a high performance athlete. Nutrition is important. What would you cook for dinner?
I think we're going to KFC. No, no, just kidding.
That's post finals.
Yep, post finals. What would I cook? I think I would, maybe like a stir fry.
Yeah.
That's quick and easy. Get us fed straight after training, eh?
Heaps of veggies, heaps of protein,
all of the beef.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for coming in and talking a little bit about mental health. It's Mental Health Awareness Week. Also, if you want to learn a little bit more about this stuff, particularly within rugby, go along to Mindset and Engage, which is at New Zealand Rugby website. Some fantastic information there. A program that delivers workshops to rugby clubs throughout the country. Thank you so much, guys. And then I know we're into the best female rugby teams are coming to New Zealand in October and November. Good luck for that as well. It's awesome to have England, France, Canada, US, those sort of teams back on our doorstep again, after having them here for the World Cup last year, which was so successful. Thank you, Don, for coming in, sharing your knowledge, and good luck with all the things that you do and the teams that you support. Appreciate it, mate.
Thank you.
Thanks.